Okay, welcome back, viewer. Mr. Wayne here. I am officially done with the Master Key System. It took a long 6 months. Now, I felt the need to make a conclusion video. Obviously, this is a lifetime program, a lifetime practice. This isn't something we just do 6 months and then stop. It's something we need to keep doing, to keep going with, and to keep practicing, because there are a lot of things that happen to us and for us as we continue into the practice. Now, I was writing down topics I was going to go over, and as I was writing down the topics, I felt like it was just tons and tons of information I just needed to keep adding. And I really feel that I would do better in this conclusion if I just talk, right? Just talk. It doesn't need to be any certain or specific way. We'll just cover what we learned, what it has done for us, and where we're going to head after that. Now, what has the Master Key System done for us? Now, it's really hard to discern, quite honestly. It's done a lot of things. It's opened our eyes, you can say, when it comes to this universe in which we live in, exactly how this universe works. It has definitely brought more awareness to me, and the way I look at situations and the experiences that I experience in my life are completely different. The way I think about those experiences are different. The way I think about myself is different. Now, before we go, I did have my phone here. Right now it is 14:25, Wednesday, July 16th. The last video that I'm going to make onto this playlist, at least in regards right now to the Master Key System, because ultimately the goal, as we use this, what we've learned from this program towards our success, we build that success for ourselves as well as for others. We could take that and we're going to modernize it. We're going to create a new Master Key System that pertains with the science that we have today, because the science has definitely come a long way since Mr. Hanel wrote the Master Key System, right? This was published over 100 years ago. Doesn't mean the information in it is any less important than the information we have today. It just needs a little bit of a revamp, if you know what I mean. And once we have the seeds and the fruit on our tree, more of it, then it'll give us the leeway, the credibility, so to speak, to be able to sell or give our own program. Because once I'm there and say, hey, Mr. Wayne, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Oh, you want to know how I did it? This is how I did it. This is definitely what helped me get to where I am today. Because we got to give credit where credit is due. And our experience, especially the experience in my life, has definitely shown the reality of the information and the truth that is found in the Master Key System. And since we're on that topic, let's go ahead and go through exactly what is in this program. So Mr. Hanel explains that we live in this field of energy, right? Even science today, quantum physics, explains it as the quantum field. We live in this intelligence, this field, this force, this universal fluid, so to speak. It's a substance, and the substance is the substance of consciousness itself. But there's no such thing as empty space. Empty space is just, it's filled with a living fluid that permeates all this quote-unquote empty space. And it also is the fundamental basis of all matter. Even all matter came out of this field, which includes us, right? And this intelligence is everywhere, and it is within everything. Now, religion calls it God. Science calls it the quantum field. Philosophers called it infinite intelligence, universal mind, just whatever you want to call it, right? It's the life force of everything. It's the force of us as well. Now, this intelligence has an identity, right? And its identity was actually given to Moses when God told Moses, when Moses was presented to the burning bush, God told Moses that his name is I am that I am. This is my name forever. This is my memorial unto all generations. Now, Emmett Fox describes the I am that I am as an identity of something that can be identified as anything, that can distribute itself as anything. So let's put it this way. I am that I am. Freaking forgot the A in there. All right, let's redo that really quick. So Emmett Fox describes, okay, we have our I am that I am. So I am describes something that is, right? It's something that just is, something that was there, something that will always be there, right? I am. I just am. I'm something that exists. I'm something that is alive and present. And even humans, now we'll go over that later on. Okay, humans being created in the image and likeness of God, we ourselves know ourselves to be, right? We're conscious. We know we exist. We know we're experiencing this reality, right? We know that we are, right? And we are portions of the I am and can say I am ourselves. Back to the universal mind, right? The identity of God, right? I am insinuates something that is, something that exists, and then that I am that. Emmett Fox explains that pertains to what that I am can be, what it is, right? I am the tree, I am the rock, I am the plant, I am the flower, I am the bee, I am the human, the fish, whatever, right? Anything and everything that has come into manifestation in matter is a covering, it's an expression of this infinite intelligence expressing itself as some kind of form, right? So I am that, I am everything. And then back to the final portion of I am, insinuating that is what I am, right? I am as I exist. That as I exist as anything and everything. I am being the confirmation of that is what I am. That is who I am. So we live in this field of energy that has an identity of I am that I am, right? We have Christian movements, and this is phenomenal. I thought this was a great, phenomenal thing to do. They call God the great I am, right? Because it's the great power that oversees everything. Okay, now that's the identity of the universal mind, of the quantum field, of the Spirit of God. Okay, that's God's identity. Now we know this power, this substance, this force is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. It is also immortal. So within this power lies all wisdom. It is all knowing. We know wisdom has been present with God since the beginning of time, since it was with God since all things began with. And we know that through the Word of God and the wisdom of God, God used wisdom, right? He used order to bring all things in existence. You look at mathematicians today, they even talk about how you can understand nature through math, because God uses specific laws, principles, uses a certain wisdom that brought all things into being. So God is the infinite wisdom. God is also omnipotent. It is all powerful. It can do whatever it wants to do. It could create whatever it wants to create. It can manifest itself in whatever form it wants to manifest itself through. So it's omnipotent. It's all powerful. And it's omnipresent. It is everywhere. There is nowhere where this power is not. So as I was saying in the beginning, it exists and permeates all empty space, and it's also the foundation of all matter, which includes, as I said before, includes us. So this tells us that God is also within us. And we know as humans, being conscious beings, we were created in the image and likeness of this infinite consciousness ourselves. It can't be any other way, and we'll go more into that in depth later. And then lastly, this power is immortal. It always was, it always will be. Now that's a very difficult concept to really grasp and understand, because it was always there, right? We know something had to be created by something else, but this creative thing that creates everything to begin with was something that it just was, always was, and always will be. It's right, and that's why the universal mind, this infinite intelligence, which we are all outlets, is the Father that Christ talked about. It's the universal power. There's no other way to put it, right? And so that's the identity, right? That's the very first thing we learn, is that we live in this intelligent field of energy that is everything within everything and is also within us. Now, let's talk a little bit about atoms. Let's talk a little bit about matter. We know this force and power is the basis and foundation of matter. We know matter we found to be made out of atoms. Now, atoms are a conglomeration of protons, neutrons, and electrons. We know that the proton and neutron exists inside the nucleus of the atom. We know outside that nucleus is the electron. Now, the main body of the atom is the electron cloud, and within that electron cloud, particles of electrons pop in and out of existence. Now, what we found is that the electron itself exists as both a wave and a particle, that it could be this vibratory frequency while simultaneously also being a particle holding the nucleus of an atom together, holding an atom together. Now, Mr. Hanel does mention in one of the parts that electrons is the fundamental particle permeating all space. That electrons are not barred down to matter, right? All empty space is filled with electrons floating in and out of existence because they exist as a wave, not just as a particle. And anything that takes on the form and shape of matter has an electron attached to it. Now, back to the atoms. These atoms constitute, but the nucleus was what, 99.4% empty space, while the electron cloud, the nucleus is the 0.04. The nucleus is a 0.04% of the atom, which constitutes the matter, right? The solid part. And the electron cloud, which constitutes the majority of what the atom is 99.6% of the atom. So that tells us that even the atom is 99.6% empty space, while only the 0.4% is what constitutes the main portion of it that creates the part of ourselves, the part of matter that we can actually see. Now, this tells us that this material universe that we live in only constitutes 0.4% of our reality, while the remaining 99.6% of our reality is filled with empty space. It's filled with this spiritual, fluidic power, creative power. And what that also tells us is that even you and I, viewer, are only 0.4% solid material, while the remaining higher portion of ourselves constitutes the 99.6% of who we are. Now, why is this important to know? Why is this important to understand? Because we know everything is made out of these atoms. We are made out of these atoms. This recording device, this tablet that I'm recording this off of, is made out of atoms. This cardboard box that I'm in is made out of atoms. Everything is made out of atoms, and the difference is how those atoms come together and express themselves in a specific form. Now, this is important to understand because what the system teaches is that our power, what we can do, is dependent upon our spiritual conditioning. It's dependent upon how we condition our mind, how we condition our bodies, how we condition our thinking, our mental attitude. And that conditioning comes from the creative power of the spirit of which we are ourselves. Okay, now the next thing is, we know everything is made out of wisdom. We were made out of wisdom. All this, the atom, all that is wisdom in expression. It is God in expression. Now, this universe we live in, God, the infinite intelligence, the Father that is within us, is Like everything, the foundation of all things exists. We know it exists through wisdom. We know it exists through principles, that there are natural laws in this universe which we live, that we abide by, whether we're aware of it or not. There are certain laws in play that are always at work. No matter what, they're going to be at work. Now, the most important of these laws that we have discovered is the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction works in accordance with the structure and basis of the atom, because the basis of everything we know is vibrating, right? Everything is in vibration. It's frequency. You and I are frequency. This box is vibrating, right? We see the box, we see it as something that's solid. But when we really look into the function of our eyes and what we are made out of, the only thing our eyes are picking up on is energy. It's vibratory waves. And it gets sent through our nervous system, through our brain, through the form of electricity, right? And those electrical signals paint a picture upon the mind of what's in front of us. And our mind makes it appear as something that is independent, something that is solid, right? Even though it's not really solid, because it's made out of a vibratory frequency. It's made out of an atom. Now, when it comes to the law of attraction and who we are as humans and what we can do and the power of visualization, now let's get a graph. We covered the presence of the infinite mind. We covered its identity. We covered the atom, the thing which makes all matter. We are currently going over universal law and how these laws govern everything. Hey, you know what? Maybe it would have been best if I actually structured everything. It's all right. It's all right. Because I'm having a blast doing this, and because it's getting me into what it is that we are doing. So everything is in vibration. We'll start from here. Everything is in vibration. This includes you. This includes me. Now, our psychological law, right? These laws of the universe also cover human psychology, right? It is a law that has been found that we become what we think about most of the time, because the thoughts being the seeds that we plant into the mind, our human mind, our subconscious mind. Now let's move into that, the power of the human, being created in the image and likeness of this universal power. One of the biggest things, probably the absolute most important thing, aside from these laws and the existence of the universal mind, is the creative power of our thinking. That thought has the ability to bring about anything we want to bring about, to experience in our lives, because two things happen from the power of thought. We know that the spirit itself needs material, needs matter to express itself through. We know us as channels of the spirit and the individualization of spirit. We have this body, we have this machine, this biological computer, so to speak, in order for us to manifest this creative power through, right, the power of our thinking. Right? We know that in order for us to take a certain action, we have to think about that action first. We have to have the image of the action in mind. We have to have the thought first. Now, from that thought, if we act upon it, then we take that action, right? Because we could entertain thoughts and not act upon it. But we know every action we take to begin with has to first have the thought form present in the human mind. So back to us, being created in the image and likeness of God. Okay, we have ourselves as the I am. Like I mentioned, we're conscious. We're conscious beings. We live in these bodies. We're aware of things. And right under the I am is our mind, right? And the mind constitutes both the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Okay, then we have the subconscious. And then those are even divided into further divisions that we know as the brain. Okay, so our conscious mind, we are not the mind. Okay, we are above the mind. We are the intelligence. We are the awareness. We have the ability to think, right? And our thoughts are what set this power, this force in motion. In part 4, Mr. Hanel gives our identity as consciousness as the I am. Okay, and in the conscious mind, he pertains to our brain and our cerebral spinal system of nerves. Spinal system. Now, the brain being under the control of us, right? It has been shown and it has been proven. Okay, let's step back a little bit, because quite honestly, dang, this is actually a lot of information. Let's step back a little bit. So we know our I am, right? Our consciousness, our awareness. This is the spirit of who we are as an individual entity. From the spirit, the spirit only has one ability that it can do, okay? And that is the power of thought, the creative power of thought. Now, since the spirit is the creative force of everything, because the spirit has the ability to think, that also constitutes the creative power of thought itself. So power of thought is a creative power. Now, what we think about over and over again, it has been shown to wear grooves into the brain, into the conscious mind. And this is done through our thinking, our visualization, our imagination. Now, that's something that we could add into our system once we put it together and organize all this information. Because we know we could think, but we also know that every thought we produce comes with a mental picture. There's an ideal, there's an image that we attach to that specific thought. So imagination and visualization, we could attach to powers of the spirit as well. Okay, Mr. Hanel covers all that, although he didn't say, he left everything particularly to the power of thought. But we know that imagination being the image-making faculty of the mind, and visualization being the process of using the imagination to create the mental picture. Right, so all that constitutes the spiritual power. So the brain, going back to the brain, Hanel tells us, is the most wonderful piece of mechanism that was ever created by the Creator. It is what really separates the man from everything else, other than consciousness. But consciousness can create the brain to be what it wants the brain to be. For example, we have our external experiences, right? We're focused on the external reality, our experiences. Really, what we think about what we experience is what that experience means to us, right? That's how it is, and it's a trip within itself, because we can think and choose what that experience means to us. And how we think and choose that experience to mean is how our neurons are going to be wired. Now, what has been shown, now, man, I'm everywhere on this, aren't I? Oh, man, this is great. This is great. What has been shown is that through the power of visualization, just going into the silence, sitting down, visualizing, that the brain doesn't know the difference between what's being imagined and what's being experienced from the outside world. So what that means is, because this program, it teaches spiritual power. This is a spiritual program. It teaches thought, it teaches visualization, it teaches imagination. Those are the main meat and bones. Because you, ultimately, you're the key. You as the person, you are the master key to your life. Your consciousness is the key. Because these universal laws, they work in accordance to where you are in consciousness when it comes to your life. Because being a central point of spiritual power, being a center of I am ourselves, we are setting these laws in motion because we are vibrating. We choose how we are going to vibrate. And by the law of attraction, the law of electromagnetic energy, we know everything is vibrating in nature. Everything that vibrates on the vibration of your thought and mental picture, your mental attitude, is what's going to be attracted to you in your life and your experience. That's ultimately what it is. That's basically what it is. So what this program shows is that understand your mind, understand who you are, understand this universal fluid, this presence that you live in, that you are attached to, and understand that there are laws at play, always working. And all we have to do is use our energy, use our vibration in such a way to where it's going to be conducive for our success, to where it's going to be conducive to how we bring the things we want into our life, because these laws are going to be working no matter what. It's important to understand the laws, but all we really need to understand is how to use them. Right? How to use these laws. And this comes back to how we use ourselves, how we apply the creative power of thought in our lives. Because from thought, from the I am, from thought, from how we visualize, there are two things that happen. There's a spiritual thing that happens, and there's a material thing that happens. The material thing that happens is that you're building new neurons in your brain. You're building that new attitude. You're building it within your system. You are becoming what you are thinking about. And the more you persist in that thought, the more you clothe that thought as your character, as who you are as an individual. The actions that you take on a habitual, consistent basis, that comes from the thinking that you are thinking about most of the time. That's one of the things. That's the physical aspect of it. The physical manifestation of thought. Now, the spiritual manifestation of thought, since we live in this field of energy, and thought being an expression of the spirit, right? Our I am, our consciousness in motion. Thought is our consciousness in motion. Since consciousness is vibratory, our thought is vibrating. The thought you think is vibrating out into the universal mind. I know you've been with somebody and you ended up saying something, or they ended up saying something, and then you or them were saying, hey, I was just thinking that. Thought is a force. It is an energy. Thoughts do not belong just to us. It travels the infinite mind. It travels this field of energy in a form of vibration. Now, the creative power of thought, being creative, is because there is no limit to what we can think. There's no limit to what we can imagine. The only limitations is our ability to imagine itself. But through imagination and an expanded field of awareness and an expanded form of thought, this is why new thought is higher thought, right? Another name for new thought is higher thought, because you're thinking about life, you're thinking about yourself, you're thinking about your surroundings from a higher plane of thought. Now, back to the thought traveling the universal mind, since it's electromagnetic, it is literally attaching to material, people, and it's attaching to other material and to other people that are vibrating on the same plane of thought. And you experience that which you are thinking in material form later on in your life as an experience. I know for a fact that you've thought of something and you ended up experiencing it. right? That came from your mind. It came from what you initially vibrated. Now, with that being said, understanding that and knowing that that happened and that experience happened from the law, when we understand the law and use the law, we could use this power to manifest and create the life that we want, the life that you want. You have the power to do that. Right? This program gave us that power. It teaches us that power. And when you go through it and you even see how it's connected with Christ, that Christ came to give us the exact same power. Right? The power of the Spirit of God within the flesh. Because we have God within us and we are attached to this power, this infinite mind. Now, with that being said, since we're on that topic, the other division of the mind that we're going to go over with the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is the mind of the Father, of the infinite mind itself within us. And it operates through the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is the autonomous system of the body, right? We don't need to make our hair grow. We don't need to make our nails grow. We don't need to digest our food. We don't need to make our heart beat, right? Even breathing. Breathing is an automatic function. That is under the control of a natural, universal, infinite power that is within us. It is the power of God within us. Right? You and I are offshoots of this power. Now, what's amazing is our connection to it makes us it. That's the biggest conundrum of life. We are God in the flesh, yet at the same time, we're not. We are made out of the same substance. We are made out of the same thing. But yet, because our consciousness is limited, like, we have to learn and understand this power. It's like God created us to be himself in something, to learn about himself in which he already is. It's very weird, because even Apostle Paul tells us that Jesus the Christ, as a man who took on the image and spirit of God, made himself equal with God. He saw it not robbery to make himself equal with God. But we knew Christ was a man. Jesus was a man. For he says time and time again throughout the Bible, I am the Son of Man. Right? He came in the form of the Father. He embodied the Spirit of God, which is what Christ is. And through the embodiment of the Spirit, and that came from his wisdom, right? He understood the wisdom of God. And again, that's one of the creative functions of thought. And because of his understanding and his thinking along the lines of God, he became God in the flesh. Oh man, this is fantastic. This is great. So knowing that God is omnipotent, omniscient, immortal, in everywhere, and we know this power exists within the subconscious mind. It is the subconscious mind. We, as humans, through our ability to imagine, through our ability to think and understand, it's like this. Let's draw a well. Okay, here's a brain. Right, here's you, here's the I am, here's you as the spirit, here's the brain that is within your control, that takes on the form of and shape of whatever it is that you are thinking about most of the time. And from that brain, we're going to draw a line, and that line is going to go into a well. Here's our well. And within this well is going to be the subconscious mind. Within your subconscious mind, the seat of our habits, the things we do over and over again, becoming mechanical, within the subconscious mind exists infinite possibilities. It's because the things we do over and over again, it just becomes a part of who we are. And there's no limit to what this infinite power can express. As Christ said again, it is not I that doeth the work, it's the Father within me that doeth the work. I do what I see the Father do. I do everything that God is as a man. But back to... All right, here's our well, the subconscious, being able to do anything and everything. And here's the brain, the conscious mind, connected to the well. Now, through visualization, through thought, we create the blueprint, so to speak, of what's going to come out of this well. We create the blueprint of of who and what we are, like our character. We create that blueprint, and we do it. Gosh damn. Woo-wee. This makes me excited, because this is also showing me the amount of what my program is. This is like a draft. It's a draft of my program. Yeah, okay, here's a better way to put it. You, as the conscious being, you have the ability to imagine, the ability to think, and to understand. So we'll put imagination, thinking, understanding. As we said, the brain being our mechanism, the brain being our tool. Say you have a goal. You're visualizing around that goal. It's something that you want to pursue, you want to do, you want to be that. You're always thinking about being that, you're always thinking about doing that. You're seeing yourself doing that. As you're seeing yourself in imagination, which is the spiritual conscious power, this whole mental image, your brain and your neurons are beginning to shift. You're creating new neural pathways for the expression, to express this fundamental outline. So this being the blueprint of your character, right? All this creates the blueprint. Your imagination, your thinking, that's the blueprint creator. That blueprint is what builds the structure of the brain. That structure of the brain, the subconscious mind. Now, I really, we simplify it. Eventually, all this is going to be simplified. The subconscious mind, we can say, being the body mind. Okay, because we know it is the intelligence of the body, so the body mind. This thing being your personal center of control, right? Control center. The body being the ship, right? This is the ship. This is the wheel of the ship. This sets the direction of the wheel. This is the goal. All you do, everything you do in the building of your brain, your attitude, you'll just naturally be steered, right? Your ship will be being steered. Like your body, your actions, all that will be steered by the brain, the control center, which gets its blueprint of what it wants from your imagination. Woo! It's very funny because I man, something a buddy of mine told me. He said, and it is something that I know I need to do. I need to organize what's in my head. Because I understand it, I see it. Like even now, right? I'm manifesting real estate. I'm manifesting higher things. It's like I could see it and understand it through my experience, but putting it in words to help somebody else understand is something that I really need to work on. But it's okay, because I know I need to work on it. We know our next goal. That's essentially the master key. That's the master key. As I said, your consciousness, you are the key. Your awareness is the key. The way you use your imagination is the key. The way you think about things is the key. All these other things that happen are just effects that come from the cause. You are the cause. You are the cause of things in your life. Even if you experience something that you know you didn't cause, you can set a cause in motion to overcome the thing of which you are experiencing. Right? You are still the cause. You are still a cause, a causative factor in how you are going to experience this life. So regardless of what's going out there in the world, regardless of your situations and circumstances, you have the power to change it. You can overcome it by simply changing your thought process and the way you use your imagination, the way you use your brain, the way you use this machine, your understanding of your I am. We are the key. I am the key. That's essentially it. And you know what? You need to go through this system. You need to experience the system yourself. 6 months, 4 or 5 days out of the week, 30 minutes a day. Right? I did it on the same days, even more days than when I'll do my physical training. I would be training 2.5, 3 hours a day. 2.5 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours physical training, and then 30 minutes of going over the master key system again and visualizing what it is that I want. Like, it was not easy. It was very hard. Even throughout the program, if you watch my videos, you can see how I was on certain parts. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to meditate every day or the 4 or 5 days out of the week. There were other things that I wanted to do, but we did it anyway because we made a commitment to this system. We chose to do it, and we had to do it. And I got to tell you, I'm very, very grateful that I did, because I feel that I have it. I feel it. I see it. I have something. I have something now. Like, when you know, right? When you know, viewer, like only you will know. It's this personal knowing that you have, that you could do anything. You could do anything you put your mind to, especially when you go through this information, you apply it, and you see it working in your life. Like, you see it working in your life, and you see the change in your own behavior. Like, you experience it. And that'll show you. That alone will show you the reality of this information. And it'll give you the confidence to go after the thing that you want. It's not blind belief, it's not blind faith, but it's a faith built on a solid foundation. It's a faith built on something that you know to be true. That once you make a decision to do something, and you hold that image in mind, and you understand that your brain is literally molding and shaping itself to the image of which you are thinking, And you see, after a while, you just automatically begin acting upon those things. You do it automatically. And that's what I'm talking about with the blueprint. The imagination, visualization, your thought formulates the blueprint that your brain will structure itself around. You're giving your brain and body a goal, that this is what you want. And by the law of attraction, since everything is in vibration, and since you will constantly be vibrating the frequency of the image that you are holding in mind, you will constantly be attracting situations and circumstances to you in alignment with your mental picture, with your habitual mental attitude. There's absolutely nothing you can't do. Bob Proctor says that the only limit we have is poverty of imagination. It's your inability to imagine, your inability to believe in the ideal of which you have. As I said, when you understand the law and you see it work in your life, you can move forward with faith and confidence that you will achieve that which you are after, because it's a law. That's the power we have as humans. That is the power of our mental attitude. That is the power of knowing what it is that we want and going after it. We become it as an individual and simultaneously attracting it in our environment. Now again, since we brought that up, there's correspondence. Because you could think something. This is where I actually had a conversation with the lady. This is where most people fail in their manifestation. Because they'll sit down, they'll meditate, they'll think about the things that they want, but they don't act in congruence with the thing that they are thinking. So they can manifest the thing in material form. It could come to them as an experience. But if they don't act upon it, they're missing the very thing that they just manifested, or that they set in motion to manifest. This is why you have to know what you want, because you will attract it and act upon it simultaneously. There will be a correspondence between you and the things that you are attracting outside of you. You have to be in correspondence. Now, that being said, that's pretty much everything I have on this subject. That's the main thing of the Master Key. That is the main thing of the Master Key. Everything else Mr. Hanel explains, they are examples of the creative power of thought. They are examples of how the wealthy use this power to do the things that they want to do, while those that aren't using the power, which are usually the masses, are not doing the things that they want to do. Some of them are, most of them aren't, because they're not using the creative power to their advantage. They're not setting the laws in motion to their advantage. There is actually a statement Hanel says that the masses are willing to allow a few others do their thinking for them. And because of that, those who are actually doing the thinking are the ones that are separated from those that are not. The ones that are thinking are the ones that set things in motion, because all actions that we take are dependent upon what we think. What we think is dependent upon our ability to imagine. What we imagine is dependent upon our ability to understand ourselves as a spirit. And just our ability to imagine and think higher things. The higher our thought, the higher the actions we take, and the higher place we will be in this life. Real estate is going very well, I'll tell you that. We do have our plan. We're working on a presentation right now. And I'm not afraid to give it to the world. Because this presentation is all about building society, changing the world, And that's done through building a society. New Thought is a society. New Thought Society. Building a society where this fundamental information is understood and used. And it's being used through business. It's being used through philanthropy. It's being used through creating a better world. And we know we need people. No one person can do, well, one person could actually do tremendous things, but everybody has a team. Everybody has a team. Now, the goal of what I'm trying to, not even trying, the goal that we are making happen, because I'm slowly moving towards it. The goal that we are making happen is bigger than me. And I know I need a team. I need people. In real estate, New Thought Society, right now what we are working on is real estate. And from real estate, we could really truly invest in our e-commerce. I invested in an e-commerce business and started it, bought my masterclass, got a product, incorporated it as a business, but I was never able to get the funding. Because you know what, we take risks and we make failures, and those failures set us back. But that was yesterday. It has nothing to do today. It has nothing to do with today. Real estate, with where I'm at now, it's the biggest opportunity that I have. And we will own, once we get to the point of our own warehouse, we'll own our own real estate. We'll own the real estate that our warehouse is on. And we could own homes. And with that money, invest in something bigger, something higher, something more important. Invest in the highest ideal, which is Christ. It's God in the flesh, the Spirit of God within us. And New Thought gives us the exact blueprint, the scientific structure of how and why we can embody the Spirit of Christ. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. We have our workout, and we have some more learning to do. And I'll see you next time.